Before we get into this SmackDown review, we would just like to remind you guys that we haven't forgot about Owen Hart's death, which untimely happened 14 years ago at the Over the Edge pay-per-view. We here at the British Fist would obviously love to say, RIP Owen Hart, and it is a tragic time, and we do one day hope that he does go into the WWE Hall of Fame where he deserves to be.
Because when you look at the deaths that have happened in wrestling or in life in general, Owen Hart at this time, the way he died was very tragic and very surprising to the WWE during the match. So from us here in the British Fist, we give our thoughts out to Owen Hart and the family.
Indeed, and it happened 14 years ago at the Over the Edge pay-per-view. But anyway, let's get on to this SmackDown review, guys. Put your Owen Hart thoughts and best memories in the comment section. Mine will always be of Owen Hart and Bret Hart feud. I thought that was brilliant. That will always be one of my favourite things about Owen Hart. We open up this week's edition of SmackDown with a Miz TV segment featuring Fandango. This really just seemed a way to get Fandango involved in the Miz and Barrett feud. They talk about what happened with Fandango dancing outside the ring. It brings out Wade Barrett. Miz announces that he's going to have his rematch tonight, and they start brawling, and that leads us on to the match which happened next.
This set up quite nicely. It starts to get the three involved, ready for the build going up to whenever the title match is going to happen.
Indeed, Miz versus Barrett happens. After this, we have Fandango on commentary. Focus really seems to be more about Fandango as he starts dancing on the outside. He causes a DQ. Barrett and Fandango beat on Miz after the match, and Barrett smashes Fandango with the bullhammer elbow. So it seems to me like they're maybe building some kind of triple threat intercontinental championship match between these three, possibly.
With the mic work that they put in before the match, and now the involvement after this match, it does seem that way, and I wouldn't mind it because Fandango does need something more. Now this Jericho feud seems to be over. They're putting him into a title match against the Miz and Barrett is a good step.
Yeah, indeed. So you're getting Fandango, in an Intercontinental mid-card title feud, which is pretty good. Daniel Bryan versus Jack Swagger. You can tell Jack Swagger's push is over as he taps to Daniel Bryan. I like the way they did this. I mean, you've got Daniel Bryan who was thinking he was saying that he isn't the weak link in the Kane and Daniel Bryan tag team. We saw a much more aggressive Daniel Bryan here, which is something I wish WWE would have brought out of him in 2011 when he was going to win the World Heavyweight Championship and he had Money in the Bank. But, I mean, it looks like they're also trying to tease a breakup again between Daniel Bryan and Kane, and Daniel Bryan's being more of the aggressor here.
That's the thing that kind of throws me a little bit, because yes, they tease a possible Kane and Daniel Bryan feud, but then this tag team started working well together. They lose their tag titles, which normally in the WWE, tag teams do break up and then feud. But if this is a way to put Daniel Bryan over once again, ready for what's to come his way, then I think this is the good way of doing it.
And looks like Jack Swagger may just be paying for what he did in March. So there we go. We had this kind of random segment with Damien and Sandow. There was like a table with a massive knot. You had Matt Striker out there, where Damien Sandow mocks the Sheamus and Henry stuff, saying that it appealed to the lowest common denominator. And he basically wants Matt Striker to try and undo this knot. It brings out Sheamus to kind of Triple H Damien Sandow and just kind of mock him and make him want to shrivel out in the ground. And he manages to solve the Gordian knot using those clipper things. It seemed to me, I can understand what they're trying to do here. It was like mental challenge, Sandow versus brute force and Sheamus, but wasn't it? Did this just seem a really, really PG way to start off a potential feud between Sandow and Sheamus? Sandow hasn't had a win in what seems like months.
That's the thing. I look at this thing and I don't really believe that Sandow is anywhere to be up in a place with Sheamus. Yes, he's been against main eventers, but at the same time, he's not won a match. You put him back to a tag team with Cody Rhodes. And this segment didn't really make me want to see this feud. I thought this segment was kind of sour. It didn't feel like a good, yes, great mic work from Sandow, or good for this segment. Sheamus coming out and trying to go on top, but Sandow knows what's coming. I didn't feel that this was a good way to start the feud.
At least it was a way of spotlighting Damien Sandow and possibly giving him some kind of feud, which I've been crying out for a long time now. There's no way should this guy be a jobber. Jericho versus Big Show. The match ends in a count out after a code breaker to the outside. Big Show then goes to the ring and Jericho uses a chair to retreat Big Show. You think they're going to do a Jericho Big Show feud now, possibly?
Well, I'm not really overly bust with this. This feud, I guess, it's just to put Jericho, keep Big Show on TV. But if that's the way they're going, then fair enough.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about that, to be honest. We had this segment that was supposed to be about Curtis Axel, but before we got to it, we had to have 20 minutes of video package from Raw showing the segment that Triple H and Axel was in, then the main event of what happened there. You know, because it's all about Triple H in WWE right now. So we had this. So why did we need 20 minutes of video packages just to get to that? I'm just saying, it's just a bit there to me. It typifies SmackDown really, because it happened with Cena and Ryback as well.
Again, they're meant to be trying to put Axel on the focus, but yes, he was in the main event of Raw, but it was more what Brock Lesnar had done to Triple H, why Triple H was stumbling. But I guess following this week, with Brock Lesnar's air contract and Axel being a member of the roster, hopefully the build will concentrate more on him.
Yeah, and we had Sin Cara versus Curtis Axel. Sin Cara, we haven't seen him in ages yet. We still have the Sin Cara lights, even though the focus should be on Curtis Axel, this new debuting gimmick superstar that they're doing. And Curtis Axel wins the match, but it was dominated mostly by Sin Cara. I don't just get why they didn't put him in a squash match with a guy just so they could showcase Curtis Axel or Joe Hennig. And all I saw really from Hennig was his finisher. I didn't really see too much of him, really.
With a Heyman guy, you do expect them to be dominant or something big about them. Yes, Heyman was putting him over through words. When it comes to wrestling, you don't really want Sin Cara, a guy who's not really been on TV that regular, doing most of the work over a future pushed guy.
Indeed, but I do look forward to what they're going to do with Curtis Axel. I just hope after what happened on Raw that they do put more focus now on a new debuting superstar and actually do push him in a good way. I hear Triple H is a massive fan of Joe Hennig, so let's please hope that this gimmick does at least go somewhere, as they brought him in pretty strong as a Paul Heyman guy. That doesn't happen every day. So we get to Kofi Kingston versus Dean Ambrose. You know, Miz cashed in his IC Championship rematch, and then Kofi Kingston cashed in his US Championship rematch. This was kind of just this funny, isn't it? A championship match was there to get to a main event. The Shield interfere. Sheamus and Orton come out and make the save. Teddy Long comes out and makes a 6-man tag main event player. Just, yeah, typical SmackDown main event stuff, really.
Even though it's not the biggest main event, Kofi Kingston, Dean Ambrose finishing with at least a segment, probably the Axel stuff. I don't know how they could have done it, but this throwing Orton there, yes, he needed to get on the card. Sheamus already had an involvement, but put him in again. Yes, it's more to get all the members involved, which I guess was going to happen.
It leads to the Shield versus Orton, Kofi, and Sheamus, and much like Raw, another good 6-man tag here. I don't see why they couldn't have just had that last the whole time. You know, they could have given that match the amount of time it had on Raw, and could have just done away with Kofi and Ambrose and setting up the 6-man tag. Why don't they just have that be the main event of the show? Because it was a pretty damn good match, as we kind of come to expect from the Shield and the people that are involved with him now. You had the faces actually got something on them towards the end, but Ambrose ends up getting the pin on Kofi Kingston, and I imagine they're going to continue that feud on now. And, you know, so it's a good main event. It's a good way to win SmackDown. The Shield once again end up on top. They seem to be ending a lot of shows on top right now.
That's what I'm looking at. They're continuing to build the Shield up. Yes, they've got the titles now, and they're going against top guys in the company. But I'm still expecting where this build's going, who's going to be the one to take them down. But for them to main event and finish on SmackDown, I give them credit. They also highlighted the US title rematch or feud continuing.
Indeed. So your overall thoughts on SmackDown this weekend, Jay? I have some specific thoughts, which I'll give after you talk.
Well, overall, it was just everything. The matches may have been okay, but the main focus I noticed throughout SmackDown, all, if not most segments, was to forward on something for a later show or the next pay-per-view. So for that, I give the SmackDown show credit.
Yeah, I think with me, it's more of a personal thing. I wasn't feeling very good today. I kind of was really tired. So watching SmackDown for me, it was kind of, if I was in a good mood, it would have been a better show for me to watch. But because I really wasn't in that good of a mood, it was an okay show. Sometimes a little bit of a chore to get through SmackDown, and you kind of skip through some things, etc. That's just how I'm personally feeling about SmackDown and wrestling in general right now, which is just a shame, really. But there you go. But it could have been a decent show if I was in a better mood. But unfortunately, I wasn't today, and SmackDown happens on Friday. So SmackDown happens on Friday, and I'm in a bad mood on Friday. Unfortunately, the show is probably not going to be as good. But please let us know what you thought of SmackDown, you impartial viewers out there, in the comments section below. And that has been it from me, Mr. Parkin. This guy sitting next to me, is the game over? Probably never going to be fucking over. NJ.
Brother!
We are the British Fist.
Ka-ching!
And rest in peace, Owen Hart. We hope you get into the Hall of Fame one day. Thank you very much for watching this SmackDown review. Goodbye.